Hello, and welcome to another episode of Turning Sparkly Cardboard Sideways. My name's Jimmy, Bancroft is behind the camera, and right here will be my personal phone number, 859-279-2405. If you have any questions, concerns, critiques on any deck profile or battles we post, please feel free to send me a message, or if you just want to say hi or share some of your deck tech, deck list ideas, please send me a message, and I'll try to reply as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Hey everyone, what's happening? Fluf here, coming back at you with another Dragon Ball profile. Today we're taking it back to the beginning of the game, but rebooted. So today we've got Soul Striker. Kind of as a preface to this, if you've been watching the videos, you know that Jimmy and I have both been on this high blue kick since the start of set 11. I think set 11 did a lot of amazing stuff for blue. We'll talk about that stuff as we get to it. I had been seeing the kind of the reports from the webcam events, and it was like maybe one blue deck per week was topping, and I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, what's going on? Soul Striker is so good. Vegeta GT is so good. Baby is so good. Vegito and SS3 Goku Reboot are all really good, and they just weren't being represented. Well, the last weekend we did see, I think it was 6 different blue decks topped. It might have been 5, but in my head I think it's 6. I know there was a Vegito, a Baby, and then Soul Strikers. So absolutely amazing to see blue doing well again. This is my take on Soul Striker. I have given you all my first version of the Vegeta GT. I will do version 2 of Vegeta GT probably next week for you guys, just to kind of show you where I'm at on that. This is, however, my take on Soul Striker Reborn. So on the front side, we've got auto when this card attacks. You get to choose one. You get to either draw one card, or you get to choose one of your blue energy, switch it to active mode. Then when your life is at 4 or less, or you have a blue Unison with an energy cost of 3 in play, you get to draw 2 cards and awaken. This deck is a lot less fragile than Vegeta GT because you don't need to deal damage to keep up your advantage. And you don't have to energy ramp in this deck. You just have to pretty much get to turn 3 and then you're set. So on the back side, we've got auto when this card attacks, draw 1 card, then choose 2 of your mono blue energies, switch them back to active mode, and then at the end of your turn, you choose 1 of your blue unisons and switch it back to active mode. To be honest, that second auto is not relevant. The big thing there is draw 1 and restand 2 energy every turn. It basically gives you, on turn 5, you're playing with an effective 7 energy every turn, which is absolutely monumental. It's just as good as ramping because you can basically tap out without stressing about anything. The only reason that you might not want to completely tap out or being careful doing so is if you're playing like yellow, that might prevent your leader from swinging by resting it or turning its skills off before it can swing. So that's the leader, getting that out of the way. The only unison that we play is the Baby, the Unknown Parasite. It's a specified 3, 15,000 plus 2 activate main, draw 1. Then on the -5, this is where blue got a lot with this set. You get to, oh gosh, where is it? If your leader is mono blue, choose 1 of your leader cards. It gets plus 15,000 power and double strike for the turn. And then until the start of your next turn, you can activate mono blue cards with counter skills from your hand by choosing 2 other cards in your hand and placing them in the drop area instead of paying their energy cost. So this lets us play big cost counter plays for no energy by just discarding the cards in our hand. And the cards that you discard are not color specific. So it doesn't have to be blue discarded. It doesn't have to be blue. It does not have to be 2 blue cards that you discard. They can be black, they can be yellow, they can be red, they can be green. Doesn't matter. Just discard them. So this opens up big plays for us later. Basically, you want to protect this unison or have another one waiting in the wing. But you want to be able to resolve this -5. I've had games where I've resolved that -5 3 or 4 times. Every time you activate this, your likelihood of winning goes through the roof just because it gives you a lot of options for pushing the game and punishing your opponent. So 4 of those has to be, it's the only unison that we play. You don't really need another one that does everything that you need it to do. I then play 3 Meki Orc Bobbing and Weaving. This could absolutely be the 3-drop Oob that plays for free when a Unison's on field that lets you draw one that's a blocker. I prefer to not give my opponent swings if I don't have to. This deck doesn't do a ton on turn 2, so having something that you can play, you negate the attack, play this card, restand one of your energies to active mode. This card may be less favorable after Draft Box 6, considering everything that is happening with Draft Box 6. But right now, 2 energy for a 15,000 body that negates and restands an energy is absolutely great. Then moving up on our blue stuff, we do play 4 Abuni. Now, I know Abuni is expensive. So I just want to say from the start, Abuni is not what it used to be. I am playing 4 because I really like the card. If you don't have Abunis, and Abunis are the reason that you're not playing blue, stop it. You can play the Anniversary Box Janemba, which is a pay 4, restand 3, draw 1, critical 20,000. Very good. You can play Murray-Chem from Draft Box 6, which is another 4-drop that does the same. It has a Boonies kind of mechanic. Reveal the top card of your opponent's deck. If it's a battle card, it does stuff. There are solutions. You don't have to have a Boonie. If you only have 2 Abuni, play 2 Abuni and then just fill the deck with other counters. You can play Whisa's Coercion. Abuni just gives you aggression, and it's difficult for your opponent to deal with if they don't respond to it. Abuni is a great way for baiting out counterplays because your opponent may counterplay on the tokens. So you still have Abuni's activate main to get the restand at the end of the turn. There's a reason this card is as much as it is, but I will adamantly defend the fact that you do not have to have it to play blue. But it only does what it does. There are just alternatives to playing this. So if you don't have them, don't fret. You can play the Janembas. You can play more Murray-Chem. You can do whatever, any other 4 costs. You can play those free 3-drop blue Oob blockers if you need to. Then next, I do run 2 of the Murray-Chem Brave Bruiser. The more that I play this card, the more I really grow to like this card. It's double strike barrier, activate main, reveal top card of the deck. This card gains 5,000 power and dual attack for the turn, so he becomes a 25,000 double strike dual attack for 4 energy. It's a ton of really good pressure, especially once you -5 on your Unison. You can pretty much play this and swing with protection. So I like this card. The more that I play it, the more that I like it, which is why I'm really adamant about if you don't have a Boonie, Murray-Chem's a fantastic option. It doesn't give you the tokens, it doesn't give you the extra combo power, but it will work as a substitute. You will be able to resolve and play this card. Then next, we do run 2 of the SS2 Trunks Heroic Prospect. Counterattack, negate the attack, play this card, permanent during your opponent's turn. If you have a blue Unison card in play, you reduce the cost of this card in your hand by 2, so he becomes a 1-drop. But more importantly, for the duration of the turn, if your opponent attacks with a card with an energy cost greater than their current energy, they have to put 2 cards from their hand on the bottom of their deck in any order. So I do play 2 of these just because the game goes really long with this deck typically, and the longer the game goes, the more effective these are. So I want to have these during like turns 2, 3, 4, but I don't want them during 5, 6, 7. So I only run 2 of these. You can absolutely run 3. If you don't have access to these, you can run a couple of the Vegeta Ready to Rumbles. Your opponent does not want to lose energy tempo. I would say adjust your card count, throw in a couple more Whisa's Coercion, put in some Vegeta Ready to Rumble, and it'll do just the same thing as this. These are just active live. So could play these at 3 or 4 of. 2 has worked for me. Oftentimes, I end up charging this card if I see it more than twice. So at 2 has been perfect for me. Another draft box card, which, hopefully we don't have that with draft box 6, but we do have Hit Deadly Vanguard. He is a 5-drop during your opponent's turn. Reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 2, so he becomes a 3. Counterplay, if the battle card being played has an energy cost of 5 or less, it's returned to its owner's hand instead of being played. And then auto, when you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 5 or less, return it to its owner's hand. So this is not live against all decks, but it is effective against lots. So one way that I really like to play this card is against Gogeta BR. We have a guy at the shop that really likes to play it. I like to play this when he plays the 5-drop Gogeta BR. The Gogeta still gets its auto because you can't hit it with this counterplay, but you do get to hit it with your auto. So the Gogeta BR 5-drops auto will resolve. You will minus 15 on hit, you'll lose the hit, but then you send the 5-drop back to their hand. If you do that on turn 3, on their turn 3, they just tapped out to play that. And then they can't get into the 6-drop again, which gives you an opportunity to set up some type of retort against that Unison, or against that Gogeta play. So I do like these. They're not always useful, but in situations that they're magnificent. So I do run 2 of those. Then continuing on the line of counterplays and counterplays, we do run 4 of God Sealing Technique Trunks. I think these are must-haves in blue decks. There are a few blue decks that I think actually could go with running less of these. I know when I was playing Vegeta, I think I ran him at like a 3 of. But in this deck, it's absolutely amazing. You want this in hand when you go into your baby Unison, because you want to be able to fiercely protect and stun your opponent out at that point. So absolutely for these, best counterplay in the game, hands down. If I had to give a second best counterplay in the game, it would be Baby Golden Avenger. This is the 5-drop. This is the partner card to the Baby Unison play. You minus 5 on the Baby Unison. Then you can play this card for free by discarding 2 cards. It is a triple strike 30,000. Does have unique, so you can't board multiples of them. But counterplay, if the battle card being played has an energy cost of 7 or less, it's returned to its owner's hand instead of being played. And then counter, negate the counter skill, play this card from your hand. And then when this card is played, draw 1 card, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards ignoring barrier, place it at the bottom of the owner's deck. So if you're activating this on counterplay timing, you get to bounce the card being played as long as it doesn't have deflect, and you get to bounce another card on the field. Or you get to bottom deck, which is even better than bouncing. But one of the really good plays in this deck is if you have an Abuni or Murichim on board, you, after activating the baby's minus 5, you activate main on Murichim, swing. If they negate, you discard 2, negate, then you play the baby, bounce a card on the field, draw 1 card, and now you have the current 25,000 double strike attack, but then you still have another 25,000 double strike, and you have a 30,000 triple strike on board for basically no energy. It's a lot of pressure. If you have multiple of the babies in hand, so say you have 1 baby on the field and you swing with it and your opponent negates, you can activate another baby to negate the counter. You resolve every part of the counter except for the play this card, so you just discard the card at that point, basically. But it can be an extra counter. And as we all know, stuff like Battering Laser, which was 1 energy, is really good. The ability to negate counters on command is really good. I'm thinking about bumping this up to a 4. Right now, 3 has worked out fine. I haven't wanted more than this. I usually have at least 2 on the hand when I go off. And most of the time, if you can get 2 of these activated in a turn, so playing one and then using the other one to counter, you can usually edge the game out at that point. So we do run these. I think they're fantastic and potentially futurely problematic for the game. We'll see, but that's kind of my opinion right now. Because there are times in the game that we don't have a lot to do with our energy, we do run 2 of the Saiyan Instincts Son Goku, the Great Ape. These are pay 2, warp it, draw 2. There are a couple alternatives. I know these are expensive. They're kind of a barrier towards playing this, even with the recent championship reprint. You could play stuff like Ultra Instinct Kamehameha, which is a pay 1, 15,000, draw 1, or you could play the new tournament Goku Ape. I mean, it is pay 4 to draw 2, but it does give you something to do with your energy, and I think that's the most important part, is taking full advantage of the energy that you do have. So I do run 3 of those. We then run 2 of the Mechakabura, the Broken Seal. I am testing this out as a tech. So far, it's been going great. It is a deflect 2-drop, 15,000. When you play it, you get to call a character name and energy cost. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, they cannot play cards with that character name and energy cost, but you can't play this card during your next turn. So it's not like you can play this card back to back. But if it's coming up on an important pivot play for your opponent, and you know that they're going to try to go into Xeno Cell 12, or you know that they're going to try to play Gogeta 6 or Gogeta 5, or whatever it happens to be, you can play this, call it, it locks them out of that, it slows them down for a turn, it makes them make inefficient plays on turns that they want to play them. They kind of lose their place in tempo, especially if it's something like Sen Shenron that wants to try to play their Unison turn 4, but you just called Sen Shenron 9 after dealing with their 9-drop. They can't play the Sen Shenron without having... They can't play the Sen Shenron. They will want to try to board their Unison, but it could just mix them up and completely mess them up. So we do run 2 of those. I like it so far. You don't have to run these, but I'm enjoying the tech. Then I do run 4 of the Zamasu Sacred Disbelief super combos, best super combo in the game. It's a 10,000 combo, choose a battle card, a leader card, switch it to rest mode. This really punishes your opponent if they make an inoptimal play, like swing with a battle card first. You just combo with this, even if you still plan on taking the life, rest mode the leader, and they don't get their draw for the turn. So if you can negate your opponent draws, if you can deny your opponent the ability to draw, they kind of lose hand advantage as the duel goes along, but otherwise they are simply fantastic combos. The deck draws enough without them. Because we do play those super combos, I do run 3 of the Son Goku and Hit Supreme Alliance. These cards, honestly, in my opinion, are not my playstyle. I rarely play these, but they are essentially 2 blocks per turn because they do have blocker, activate battle, switch this card back to active mode. So if you block with this card, super combo this Moss, as long as they didn't go to like 30,000, it survives, activate battle. On that battle, it restands and you have another blocker, which could prevent you from taking unnecessary damage. So do run 3 of those. You could switch those out for other pressure cards or other defensive cards like Whis' Coercion. Then I play 1 of the Secret Identity Mass Saiyan. This is mainly for decks that like to go wide or place a lot of early threats on you. I'm looking at stuff like maybe Garlic Jr. or why am I blinking? Kid Ku or Skillless Gohan. Just anything that might put a lot of beanies on the field or a little. Just this will take care of them. So 1 of those, because you never know when your opponent is swarming the field on you. Then I run 1 Fu Shrouded in Mystery. This is great for closing the game out. One of the struggles that this deck initially had when I first put it together, while it was super resilient and usually was able to close the game out, it can at times find it difficult to close the game. So I did struggle with that idea. Fu Shrouded in Mystery has helped a lot because you will absolutely get up to the turn. As long as you don't lose on like turn 2 to something like turn 2 Han or turn 3 to something like Majin Vegeta, you will get up that long because you are just that defensive. You don't do a ton. You don't waste a lot of your resources early. So you have a lot of defense and lasting power in the later stages of the game. So it's basically like a second secret rare for us. But the first secret rare is Baby Hatchiac. Best secret rare in the game right now. You can't change my mind on that. It basically turns the turn off. I mean, your opponent can still play things, but if you wait until your opponent has invested a little bit of energy in that turn, you can absolutely play this in the turn. They're defenseless. You get to go into your turn and hopefully win, capitalize on the fact that they invested thinking that they were going to win. So a well-timed Baby Hatch will win you the game. If not win you the game, it at least buys you another turn. I then do play 4 Senzu Beans. I think you have to play 4 Senzu Beans in blue right now, whether it be to offensively manipulate your energy. There have been turns that I played 3 Senzu Beans to go from 2 to 5 open energy to play another Abuni, or to pay 5 to play a Golden Avenger, or play another Ape Unison or Baby Unison. So even if or defensively to prevent your opponent from just rolling all over you. If you need to open more energy to play counter plays or counter attacks or whatever you've got, or even just the 5,000 on the leader is fantastic. 4, 3 if you absolutely don't think you need 4, but 4 by my suggestion. Then I do run 4 Dimension Magics. I think you just have to. This may change after Draft Box 6, but I think blue has enough strategies to deal with it. The card's not a total buzzkill for blue. Like, blue can play around it, but it does get a little bit more tricky. But for right now, we do run 4 Dimension Magic. Then I run 1 of All Too Easy. This could be bumped up to 2, but this is primarily, in my opinion, for the hand control matchup and the Invoker matchup. Invoker for when they turn everything off and try to victory strike you, have a negate in the drop area to utilize. Against the green matchup, if they somehow discard your entire hand, or you don't have a negate and need to stop the rampant swings, you can activate this to negate the attack and survive. So just one of those. I think every deck should try to run a drop area negate if you can. And then the last piece of tech is the max power Kamehameha. These are negates that get to warp 4 to add them back to hand. Or if you're facing down a threat that your opponent put out super early, like say Xenocell or 6-drop Gogeta or 6-drop Gotenks, you get to use this to just get rid of those targets because it warps them as long as the battle card is greater than the opponent's current energy. So these are great for spot removal, which blue really likes, especially in that control aspect, but it's also just another negate if you run up against something like turn 2 Hong. Anyway, guys, that is my 50-card Soul Striker deck, if my count is correctly. I really do like this deck at this point. There's a lot that you can do with it. There's a lot of room for wiggle as far as what fits your play style in blue. As long as you like running control counter heavy decks, blue is kind of that. You can run a lot of different negates. You can play blue differently. Like, I could add in the 6-drop Vegeta GT and play an energy ramp variant of Soul Striker that would function just fine, and instead of running Baby Hatch would run Goku Oob. So there's lots of ways to play blue, specifically Soul Striker. So if you enjoyed this profile, make sure to leave us a comment, like, subscribe for notifications, all that fun stuff. If there's something that you want to see Bancroft or myself do, let us know. Please show Bancroft some love. He's doing a video game series that posts every night at 10. He's really excited about this. It's actually a really cool game if you've never seen it. I think he's playing through Carrion right now. So make sure to check those out. And like always, read your cards, know your plays. Fluff out.